Welcome back, and oh boy, am I glad I didn't buy that Mammoth jersey now.
Okay, Nick.
Come on, man. Don't do it like that. They just lost the game.
I have a very fickle allegiance, and I generally go for whoever's winning. I'll tell you what, though, if I was playing a game of League of Legends against Order, I would have noticed that they had 5 members on their team as opposed to 4, because for a lot of that game, Harry's just running around doing whatever the hell he wants the entire time, Rusty.
Yeah, there was certainly a point in that game where we were talking in Discord, and the only thing coming out of my mouth was, "Can you please look at Hayri for once?" Because there was a lot of the team fights that happened were like a minimum of 30 seconds in length, right? They weren't quick one-punch fights, and he would finish every single fight with full health, just completely untouched. And you could definitely credit some of that to the positioning of Hayri playing Zoe over the walls to put in work, but my man's was just completely untouched, and it was really hard to deal with.
He was hard to deal with, indeed. Skimmy,
Yo.
does this mean that my dream of Mammoth making some incredible run is over, or is this just a hiccup in the future OPL champions' path to glory?
I had the beautiful rhyme ready to go. You know, the step became a jog. It would have been a run, but today it's become back into a limp.
All right. Order. That was a Freudian slip. Jake, can you say something nice about Mammoth?
Yeah, absolutely. I was super impressed by Chungy again. Zoe is probably Harry's best champion, and he leaned against it really nicely. I think his build was smart. I think he needed to play for the split, and the rest of his team needed to hold. I think the problem with that game plan was that they just went down the early drags, right? So then you get dragged into these team fights. But if they had had a little bit more stability through that early game, I can see exactly what their comp was supposed to do and how they were supposed to play that one out. So I'm impressed by them. Bass recovered well. He went down 3 levels in the early game. If that's me, I probably, stay irrelevant the whole game. But he did a really great job. So their mid-jungle is certainly 2 players to look out for.
Lady Dubsy in the chat says, can we get a foldy sheet or is it too early? We're going to have to start cracking those foldy sheets out very soon. And I know how
That's
excited
a big
everybody.
foldy sheet if we're folding it
too
that
early.
many times. There is still 8 games left for both of those teams and 9 for everyone else.
I'm just saying, we're at home. We've got as much space as we need. Like, we've got offices that we could
think
just
you
fill with folding paper.
You could probably build a house out of the amount of folding that sheet would need this early into the split.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the line.
Do you remember the origami segment? That's the origami segment coming back.
I was going to say, this just sounds like an OPL segment. Like, rusty, lost in paper, like some sort of mummy, is exactly the kind of thing that we deliver here. All right, well, congratulations to Order. Mammoth, I am actually still on your side. It's just, this is tough love. All right, before we move on, a reminder about the 2 competitions we've got running at the moment. EPOS want to give you a gaming headset, and it's super easy to get your hands on one of them. All you need to do is go to @OPL on Twitter and reply to our post there regarding this competition with your most out-of-this-world gaming experience. A little story about the greatest thing that's happened to you in video games. We're going to pick 2 winners, and those winners are going to get GSP 600 headsets, thanks to the wonderful people at EPOS. They hear that you want headsets, and those headsets are here to deliver. Next up, we also have NeoSurf, who are running their competition. They have been the entire split to get you involved in the OPL. You can become a part of our opening titles. All you need to do is send us a video of you joining the opening titles of the OPL broadcast, as you've seen your fellow OPL fans be a part of as of a couple of weeks ago. Send us your video via DM to @OPL. Follow @NeoSurf Esports on Twitter, and we're going to pick the 6 best. The winner is going to get $500 in NeoSurf voucher credit to use in the League of Legends store. The runners-up are going to get $100 each, and everyone gets their way into the titles. It's an exciting time to be an OPL fan. It's mainly an exciting time to be an OPL fan because it is time to pick the greatest League of Legends champion of all time. This is the LCK. It's back, Spawn!
The sun's out, the crowd's ready. Let's reckon!
It ends here.
You have not earned victory this day.
Alrighty then, the titles there said Ionia edition. I was prepped for the Noxus edition, but that's fine. I could jump over. That's fine. That's not a problem at all.
No, we didn't finish Noxus. We half done them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, wait. Oh, whatever. I've got Ionia. I'll find Ionia. We're all good. Quick, someone fill.
Yeah, about those League of
found it,
Legends
we're fine.
games. Okay.
Good work. Please, no talk about League of Legends. Okay, first up, Kane versus Rakan.
Oh.
Who is the greatest League of Legends champion?
I want to say neither.
No, I'm a huge Kane fan.
I know you are.
Yeah, I know Spawn
Massive.
is. Yeah.
I mean, what is there not to love about Kane? He has the best voice lines in the game. Like, he's actually so sassy to, like, his scythe. He calls it a farm implement. Like, that's just... I think that's hilarious. That he has double transformations. There's a Kane for any occasion, whether you like a red Kane or blue Kane.
That's two Kanes.
And he also has a wizard hat in one of his skins. What's there not to love about wizard hat Kane?
What is there not to love about Wizard Hat Kane? Chat as well, you notice there is a poll in the chat right now so that you guys can vote along as we go. Rusty, do you have a comeback to that? I know you hate them both.
I mean, I'm personally not a big fan of Kane because he's just like a massive edgelord with just screams
come on.
angst, you know? And, like, we've already
He's the
voted in a
edgelord.
couple of angsty champions from other regions. Rakan's dancer, he's a little bit up himself, but aren't we all, Nick? Aren't we all?
We're all very up ourselves.
Hard not to vote for Rakan.
No.
Yeah, he's smarmy. There's a smarminess. It's fine
Please.
being cocky. There's a smarminess.
And the thing is, for every, all the single people in Twitch chat, Rakan's already taken. Whereas we all have a shot with Kane.
That's true.
I don't know
That's
if
true.
you want a shot with Kane.
And he,
You don't know
And
what
he-
version of Kane you'll get, mate.
he would love to date us for the 2 minutes before he kills us just for fun. Oh my god, it is dead even. It is 50-50.
No, it's not. It's 54 to 52. Stop the votes.
Oh, there it is. Okay, 51 Kane wins. Well done. Sorry, Rakan. I mean, Rakan, it's too smarmy.
Yeah, my boy.
That's not something we have in here.
Edgelords
All right.
in chat.
Up next. I know who's going to win this one, I feel like. But let's bring it up. LCK round number 2, Zaya versus Ari.
Oh, come on. This isn't even close.
Zaya wins by
Ricard
default.
just lost, so Zaya can't go through if Ricard lost, right?
No AD carry should have an untargetability spell. Like, Ari just has to win.
I'm with Ari as well. I mean, first of all, if Ricard got through, I think we needed Zaya to get through just to draw them against each other and see who won. But I'm all aboard the Ari hype train.
Ari
so
also
is
has just
Chat.
hands down better skins.
I'm a big Zaya fan. I just love the kit. I like the abilities. I just like the playstyle.
Everyone loves Zaya's kit, mate, because it makes up for so many shortcomings in how you have to play the game.
You're just like, oh, I'm in such a bad spot. Featherstorm, no JK. We're good.
Yeah, she's an 80 carry with her own CC, pass-through
It's so
damage,
good.
and an untargetability that you can move during.
I mean, look, chat is 72% Ari, and I would say my argument for Ari would be that she's kind of one of, up there with sort of like Garen and Teemo as being sort of like iconic champs to the layman of League of Legends. I feel like there are a lot of people who don't play the game who could look at that and go, oh yeah, that's a League champ. Ari, the face of League of Legends. Zaya, completely.
I think if we're talking skins like KDA Ari, you just win based off that alone.
Yeah. Basically, anyone who has a KDA skin probably gets through the
Yeah,
next round.
sure.
Speaking of the next round, so congratulations, Ari, you win. Round number 3, League Champion Knockout, Iona Edition. Akali versus Aurelia.
I hate Aurelia so much.
Historically,
Why?
my two favorite champions in the game.
Yeah, this is a really tough one.
But you've only got one tattooed on your body.
I would get Aurelia tattooed on me if Jenna would allow it, for sure. She might
she's
actually
like,
be the other side. But yeah,
You
I
can
do
only
have to go.
one other woman tattooed on your skin.
I love Akali.
Yeah, so do I. I think Akali is also the best rework that's ever come out of League of Legends.
Ah. Justify that.
Like, her old play pattern just didn't feel assassiny at all. Like, it had triple dashes that you had to hit a ton of spells. Like, her new playstyle just feels so fluid and assassiny. Like, she was OP, but when they changed her smoke to not impact towers, I think she was in a really good spot. And she's like, she's a hit and run ninja that has all in potential at level 6. I think that's just insane. Aurelia, on the other hand, has been a nightmare to balance just the whole time. As soon as she is strong enough to be in competitive, she's just 100% pick ban.
I mean, they're both pretty annoying regarding balance, I think, for sure. Like, remember that when Akali got reworked, they were like, have this shroud that even turrets can't
Yeah,
touch.
I said that was stupid.
Yeah.
But that's not Akali's fault. That was some designer's fault. Like, don't blame Akali for that.
I'm not
Don't put
blaming
that on
Aurelia
her
for
head.
her design either, am I? Like, you are? Like, is this a-
So are you backing Aurelia, Rusty?
Yeah, I will, but it's a pretty close vote. I'm not too passionate either way.
Plus,
be
people with
honest.
tattoos are just straight up cooler than people without tattoos.
I agree.
All right, so based on purely tattoo coolness, it looks like Akali is going to go through. Also, I just feel like it would be poor form if
Someone
Akali
has
didn't
just
make it
asked-
through and you have a tattoo of her. That just seems like that's like if we put Calvin and Hobbes up in this competition and they didn't get picked, I would feel pretty gutted.
Someone just asked in chat, do we vote for the champion that we want to win or the champion we want to lose? When have you ever voted against something?
What is this? Come on, this is not the US election. All right, it's time to move on to the next election. I think we can squeeze this one in before we get to the next game. It
Okay.
is Jin versus Yasuo.
Oh, both
Jin!
Yasuo. Hey, Cully, there we go.
I love
Yasuo.
Jin. I just think he's such a unique champion when it comes to AD carries, much like the Featherstorm out of Isaiah. It's just so different to your traditional auto attack. You know, you hit that fourth shot in TFT, in Summoner's Rift. It feels so good. You get that
Hey.
final shot, and you just one-shot
Hey,
somebody.
Skimmy, we played a game of ARAMs yesterday. What'd you get carried by?
No. We forget
Name
about
the
the Yasuo.
champion. Name the
No,
champion.
forget about the Yasuo.
Oh, was it a
Jin.
Yasuo?
No, forget about the Yasuo. Because
I
the thing is, Rusty, you didn't go 0-10, so I don't know if that's a
said
power
it.
spike or not.
If this was TFT, I would say Jin because Darkstar is my favorite comp. But I actually really like Yasuo.
Happy Windman. In China, is the most beloved character in the game.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Yasuo. I love trying to play Yasuo, even though I'm terrible at it. So I'll vote Yasuo. I'm going to click it right now. But we're losing, Rusty. There's too
Oh,
many
no.
Jin.
Yeah, the Jin vote is out of control.
Oh,
in
well,
the
chat doesn't
so
get
I feel
to
like,
choose, do they?
well,
love
I'm
Jin.
going to give
So
him this
good.
one, and also because Jin, I just like the mask is hot. Come on, let's face facts. The mask is cool. There's something dangerous about that, and I'm glad that we don't get to see what he looks like underneath. So this is so Jin, congratulations, you win. We'll come back to the second half of Ionia after the next game. The next game, speaking of, as Skimmy teased, it's Legacy versus Avant. Legacy, obviously having a great year as a team and a really strong start to the split. They went 0-2 last week. It was not their finest weekend. Spawn, are they ready to come back with a vengeance against Avant?
Yeah, look, I certainly hope so because Legacy as a team would be. I mean, I'm sure they would hate to, drop a couple of games in a row and kind of downward spiral at this point. It feels like they put so much into this season that they kind of deserve that shot to be able to come back into it.
Skimmy?
I think so too. I mean, Legacy, the roster speaks for itself, and now they've got two mid laners, so they can flex things out. Unfortunately, Hello didn't have the debut performance I'm sure he was hoping for, but it is still a Legacy brand after all, and you'd imagine coming closer and closer to playoffs, it's time to bounce back.
Rusty rounded out.
Yeah, I think a 2-0 this week is exactly what Legacy need, right? You want to continue to try and have some separation near the top of the ladder, and they definitely want to bounce back after last week, so expect big things.
I think I agree, but in my heart of hearts, I still believe that Mammoth can do it. Let's get into game number 2. It's Legacy versus Avant, and it's coming up with Max Champ Select.
And welcome back for the second game of the day. Legacy will be taking on Avant. As I mentioned before, Legacy are your reigning Split 1 champions, but they did suffer their first 0-2 weekend this year. They'll be looking to bounce back, and they'll need to, because right now, the current standings show the order are neck and neck. They're actually tied at even wins at 9 wins. So they'll need to try and bridge that gap, try to, once again, keep themselves firmly fixed on the throne. But Avant are one of those teams that continue to impress. Pat Bryce has definitely slotted himself into this team. But I think for me, Chaz makes this major argument, because if I look at his stats, the guy's, he's a monster. I mean, what did I have here? He's got the #1 KDA, the #1 CS per minute. He's the second in terms of damage per minute. The guy is playing out of his mind. When you give him a champion that can play that way.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're 2-5 in their last 7 games. So whilst
How
there are
many
lots
times? How many times have we seen Chaz be like 5-0 in Oriana, try to single man carry? It's tough.
But that doesn't win you games, Skimmy. And this is the thing
doesn't.
about Avant, is I'm a big Avant fan as well. I actually really like their bottom lane. I like Chaz. Lisa is one of the junglers that I tipped to watch at the start of the year. I know Rusty was a big fan as well. So when I have a look at this team, I'm like, yeah, this is a team that, should be able to bring good things. And after week 1, where they went 2-0, we thought that was going to be the case. They then beat Order as well in week number 3. And it looked like, at 3-3, this was a dangerous lineup that teams were going to have to contend with. Now, since then, since they were 3-3, they've gone 5-2, 2-5, as I mentioned. And they're now, really struggling. So I think that this game is equally as important for Avant as it is Legacy. If Avant want to make playoffs, they must win this game.
Yeah, they certainly must, because as you say, the bottom spot to try and get yourself into the playoffs, it is still all up for grabs right now. 2 teams tied at 7-5, Avant at 5-7 will need another win to try and continue that streak towards it. Halo once again will be playing here for Legacy. Another chance to sort of see what he can do in terms of his champion pool and what he can sort of bring it to the table when they have the ability to flex between himself as well as Tally. And I think another member will be Babip as well. We're looking to try and find some bounce back form. Obviously, we saw him go to the Graves. He went the Smite Ignite, an aggressive route. Didn't find that success. An unfortunate level 2 fight going against him, and he paid the ultimate price as a result. But that's the Sivir. Once again, we continue to see innovation take place in the bottom lane.
Yeah, we certainly do. Sivir, historically, has had a great matchup into Ezreal. If it's paired with Karma, it's going to have the freest pushing lane in all of League of Legends, Skimmy. I can't think of a lane off the top of my head that pushes harder than those 2 champions when they're paired together. But at the same time, when I have a look at this Legacy lineup, I think that now you have to really round it out with some good tank and utility. And normally, if that's Tally in the mid lane, you're like, that's fine. Give Isles the mage. Give Tally a Galio, give Tally an Ornn, something along those lines. Give Topoon, something a little bit more carry-esque, like an Aatrox, but with a little bit of utility himself and some CC and knock-up, and then you have a great composition. But now that it's Halo playing in the mid lane, can you actually give Isles the mage? Or do you have to now give Isles a Nautilus or a Bard or something along those lines and play a different bottom lane than maybe Legacy would like to in this situation?
And I agree with your point, because I think from an identity standpoint, they've been one of the only teams that are very good at running these double globals, non-tank necessity, and sort of showcase that, hey, we can play compositions that are a little bit harder to execute. They find great success with it. As you say, Tally tends to be the catalyst of that, given his nature to play from top to mid and the transition and the similarities in those champion pools for the lane matchups. But the continued question mark is, what does Halo bring, and how does he actually change the structure and the style as a whole?
Yeah, and we'll see exactly what that is, because I've already mentioned it. Halo, big control mage player. That's why his Oriana's gone. Big, Vega, Twisted Fate. These kind of champions is what Halo typically plays. Tally, on the other hand, we're expecting, if he was to play into a Zoe, you're expecting Cho'Gath or Ornn to be the 2 picks that he probably leans on very heavily to shut down that pick. So I think that, that's something that we don't talk about it often, because when you play League of Legends, you don't realize that you actually play as much around the other champions as what, you kind of do. But if you're Raze, and you're used to having double frontline coming from the 2 highest goal positions in the game, in mid and top, early game at least, then you kind of start relying on those thick, beefy bodies to be in front of you. You throw an Oriana into that mix, that's just a very different way to have to now play the game. And that's interesting.
That's a beefy body. That is a Sion coming out once again. One of these picks that continues to impress. We saw the buff. 2 Gnar in 10-13. Is Topoon going to show us it here today? One of the bans was the Alistair. Small buff to his Pulverize. Potential now to get a few more disruption tactics happening in a team fight there, making sure that Appy will not find success on some form of aggression. And there it is. The Gnar's going to be locked on in. Plenty of ranged harassment to keep the Sion at distance.
Yeah, that's a really good matchup for Na, actually. Cyan can kill you when you're mini if you're exhausted and you kind of muck up a trade in lane. If he lands that ultimate onto you and then you fumble the hop during the queue, like Cyan can chase you down. However, it's kind of exactly what I said. This is like two pseudo-utility picks coming out of, you know, maybe not the lanes that we're used to. Isles is obviously a good Bard player, but that can now be counterpicked quite heavily in the bottom lane if Avant Gaming want to, you know. Is there going to be a Blitzcrank? Is there going to be a Nautilus that tries to just kill this bottom lane on repeat?
That's the question mark we have to see. Obviously, no denying the skill that Isles has on the Bard. It was a pick very hotly contested in the Split 1 playoffs. That's going to be fresh as the response. So you'd have to say, in terms of a ranged matchup, Legacy, from a standpoint, would win this one. But as soon as that hook lands, it can just be flicked on a dime.
Yeah, it certainly can be. And Thresh is like one of those pseudo lanes, right, where Thresh doesn't necessarily win or lose very many matchups. You know, into Braum, for example, obviously is a great pick. But I think there are harder hook champion punishers. But what Appy's done here is he said, I'm not going to overcommit to winning this lane. I still want to win the lane. You know, it's still a good matchup for Thresh, but it's not do or die at this stage. Like, if he had gone Blitzcrank, that's a you have to win this bottom lane. And I think you can play Blitzcrank into both Sivir and Bard. I think that's actually, you know, one of those really nice picks. I think you could have also played a Mage if you're Appy into them. You know, something very damage heavy. But definitely not going to be the case. I actually thought we were going to start to see a little bit more Mages coming out, Skimmy. I know that maybe you played a couple of Mages when you first came to League of Legends, but, you know, there's the likes of Luxes, Zyras, Swains running around a little bit in solo queue that aren't getting touched in pro play, and I thought maybe, you know, with the tanks falling out of favor just a little bit, that would come back.
I'm getting quite excited to see later on, especially with some of our assassin players, if they're going to dive into those kind of champions. But as it pertains to this one here, I look at these two drafts and say that Avant have a ton of pressure to get in your face, find a target, lock them down, and look to try and blow you up in a matter of mere seconds. But on the flip side of that, Legacy have so much disengaged. They have obviously the Karma Shields, they have the Sivir Ultimate, the ability to pounce away as both the Nidalee and the Gnar. And if all else fails, they've got a magical journey.
They certainly do. I mean, they are a highly mobile comp. Sivir, you know, speeding up anyone is going to create that. But I do think that this Legacy composition does rely on one of two things. It either relies on a good early game or 600 CS on Sivir. I don't think there's ever, like, any middle ground here. They should win the side lane the whole game. That's what Gnar does against Sion. But I think that this is quite an interesting draft for Legacy to play.
Well, if there is ever a man to hit those major numbers, it would be Raze, has the best CS per minute when it comes to the ADC role. We know what he can do. He's going to showcase what he can do on the Sivir here today. We're going to get to see what happens. A must-win for both teams. Legacy to keep themselves firmly fixated in first spot, and for Avant to continue their chance at making a playoffs run. We're going to get to see what happens here today. A ton of CC, a ton of damage, but will it stick?
An interesting level 1 here, Skimmy. You don't talk about wards all that often because they are quite boring, but Appy drops his ward in Pixel in the bottom side of the map, immediately swaps over to that sweeper. Then you have a look at Lisa, he's also got sweeper. So I would be expecting Chaz to try and get control of this lane as best as he can. Obviously, Karma gets to pick when she pushes. And then try and replace that ward very early. However, it looks like Legacy are actually invading here.
Certainly are. The spear will go out, but it will not connect. Will a stun land?
Yes, it will.
Land? Now there is the ignite. Questions arise. The spear connects too, and that's all she wrote when it means it is a first blood. 2 flashes, but a kill secure.
I wish we could get a replay of that, Skimmy, because how that Bard Q landed, I will never know. That was such a
it's like a bigger hitbox than Nautilus.
Yeah, that was such an interesting tether. Because it should have definitely hit Thresh, but I don't know how it hit the wall. Babib, however, with the mechanics, he actually Q'd and then knew it was going to land, so flash Q'd in Cougar form immediately. That was pretty nuts.
It certainly was, and that's a dream start here to get Legacy underway. Not going to hurt Lisa too much in the sense that he can just steal away the blue buff as well. He's already got the red buff online, so going to just do a trade in terms of counter jungling.
Yeah, and Lisa very aggressive on that cross map. Is going to be facilitated nicely, as I said, by Chaz actually fighting really hard for the push. This is something that when I was watching Avant games, I noticed pretty much instantly, is that Chaz always hits creeps for like the first 3 minutes. He never tries to trade onto champions. He just continues to try and shove this wave in and actually give Lisa the space to be pretty aggressive. And not many mid laners do that. They don't like using their mana just for creep hitting. As Isle's looking very aggressive. Appy already back to half health again, burning these potions.
Certainly is. As you can see that Raze will have to take the cleanse, respects the CC that comes the way of Avant, who can itemize themselves into a triple teleport setup. Macro would definitely favor them. Now's the Ezreal to cheat the tempo a little bit and continue to farm and blow through all that mana to CS, and he's going to need to as he's being pushed up against his tower.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have a look at how this wave is going so far, it's so big being crashed in that they've actually been able to pick themselves up like a plate and a half of turret plating. However, good news is for Violet, he hasn't missed any experience or CS. So he's dead even, despite the fact that his support did die. And the kill didn't go over to their lane. So they're down a little bit of gold and experience off that kill. But at least it's not something like, first item BF sword marching back at, 28 CS because your Sivir's got a first blood. So not the end of the world. Meanwhile, in top lane, the fact that Topoon has got away with a cheeky cull purchase is always nice when you're playing Gnar. Kind of the dream start, to be honest.
Certainly is. As you can see, the Boomerang is going to be the go-to to keep this Scion at bay. But with his passive, ton of attack speed, and a ton of ability to, much like a Vayne, knock down these minions with ease.
Okay, and let's see how this goes now, because you can see that Legacy are still trying to split the map. Razor's still trying to push. Nidalee has gone for a re-invade onto the Gromp, which she took on the first clear. However, Lisa kind of sick of the map split happening.
It certainly is.
Oh, Bardo, no.
Bard's in trouble. One more auto! Oh, there's a member in the way. I think he still falls on down. He does indeed. Violet very happy with that one. It's going to be Appy that picks up the kill. A creative play coming out of Legacy gets punished big time.
And you can see that Raze is sticking around for the creeps. I think that might be a mistake.
Certainly might be. Smokescreen
has got no mana.
Yeah, he has no mana. Ooh, spell shield just to prevent the death sentence. 4 bits of investment trying to connect there, but he manages to stay alive and doesn't have to burn the cleanse.
Okay, and Violet actually basing on a ward, so his tempo is going to get ruined. That will be a teleport back for sure. Halo looking for a one-on-one.
Hey, he's doing a lot of damage as well right now. Actually going to completely bully out Chaz from this lane. Would have needed one more auto or just another Q. But just finds the safety underneath that first turret.
And actually, Lisa now crossing back to topside, despite the fact that his AD carry has teleport, means that first Dragon is going to go down. And with such a major shop advantage in the mid lane, look at Chaz's items compared to Halo's. Look at, AD carry being back on wave first as well. You would expect this to be actually Avant's Dragon window skimming, but Babbitt was just there first.
It certainly was. A lot of this, once again, comes back to the amount of tempo they found from that first blood. Fun fact, last 5 games, Legacy have never got the first blood. Last 10, only 20% of the time. So they've definitely changed things around here today. And it's really rewarding them with a strong early game start, which has been something that's ruined them in their last 2 defeats.
And I wonder if Topoon is going to walk out of base because his wave is technically pushing back into him. Certainly is going to be the case. And you can see Babbitt really respecting the ability for this Graves to be in his jungle right now. Will actually recross back to bottom side where he's just had to push the whole of laning phase. You mentioned it, kind of the first blood going across still is enough of a factor that this wave continues to crash. Be interested now that Violet's had a shop, however, if they can try and equalize this lane. Or whether it's just so doomed from champion select that the Sivir always has push.
Yeah, it's going to get from bad to worse in the sense that Raze will be building towards that Essence Reaver, and then it will be a battle of the mana utilization. They'll have a very strong wave play on both sides.
Well, it kind of actually looks at Violet's just letting them have the shove. You can always tell whether Ezreal wants to fight you for the shove because he will just continue to fire Qs and try and sit at 5 stacks. It gives him a lot of attack speed and means that you're not really able to do this. So I am quite interested that Violet doesn't feel the need to actually be able to shove this back and gives them actually the best tempo reset if they do want to now go towards the top lane and fight this Rift Herald. Would be uncharacteristic of Legacy to move their duo around Summoner's Rift Skimmy, but could be exactly what we're seeing right now.
Could be indeed, because you can see on your minimap right now, that is where they're going towards. Violet does not have that teleport. He used it to get back to lane with that advantage of the tier online. He's going to sit pretty for the meantime in the bottom lane. 8 minutes on the clock is when that Rift Herald spawns, and that is where Babip is as well. As it seems that Legacy are really looking to try and invest in a heavy early objective control.
And Avant are looking to match, but they're just so late. You can see right now that they know that they're on the Herald. They have no control over mid lane. They've recalled their Ezreal. However, Paprise is just going to walk in. Where's the teleport going to come from, Skimmy?
Fight starts. Now there's the ultimate. The teleport is going to come in here from Legacy. Paprise uses his ultimate for a headbutt, looking to try and disengage right now, running towards the mid lane again. Legacy don't lose that. They get the flash secure, as Babip can pick up that Herald. And Avant looking a little bit indecisive as to, did they want it or did they not?
And I think, I actually kind of disagree, just a little bit, Skimmy, and I think it's in the nuance, right? So I think Avant never wanted to take that fight, but what they did want to get is something off the trade. They said, okay, we've kind of made a mistake, but we need to be able to get some form of an advantage. What can we get? And the answer is Topoon's teleport. So you saw as soon as Topoon teleported, everyone just left. There wasn't even like they weren't even entertaining the thought of the fact that we were going to fight that. However, now they do have teleport advantage on Sion, so if they get a successful gank onto this Gnar, maybe they can start looking around the map for a little bit of a teleport play. Problem is, right now, they are actually just losing in 3 waves. Halo's always getting pushed mid, Top's being shoved in, and Gnar is bullying out their Sion. So it is looking rather grim to use that advantage, but it is an advantage nonetheless.
Certainly is, and as you highlight there, the mid matchup is crucial, allowing Halo to respond and prevent Chaz going for these free rotates, especially with the blue buff, for that very frustrating river control. That ensures that they have the Scuttle, that's protection there for Topoon for the reasons you highlight.
All in.
Now, that is an all-in in the top side. Appy going for the flash forward, Temper Fate goes on out, and that prevents the follow-up, as Raze is forced to burn double summoners just to survive.
Okay, that's a good all-in taken by the Avant Gaming duo lane. You can see how many summoner spells are lying in the lane there. Appy also has himself a biscuit, so going to be able to top himself off. Raze, on the other hand, does not have anything available apart from the Bard wells that will be put out, but no one from Avant moving top. Even though they have Chaz, who had complete control of mid lane there, you know, looked like the jungler was also on the right side of Summoner's Rift. They say, that's enough for us. We're just going to continue to just farm up and scale.
Yeah, you can see Lisa's quite content in that department. Getting a little bit out-tempoed here by Babip, up by 20 at this stage.
That's not a little bit, that's a lot. He's down a kill, a level, and 2 objectives. I would say that is a resounding victory.
Optimistic. But that is disaster now for Paprise. He's going to use the ultimate to poon tanks up all the turret shots, and Babip can walk on through and say, I don't even need to go for that final attack, but he's in a ton of trouble because the afterlife will come on through. Graves gets himself an assist there with the smoke screen as well, and it's a trade that could not have happened at a worse time for Legacy. That means that Avant can now, despite all the control Legacy has, get themselves on the board with their first Dragon 2.
Yeah, they certainly can. You can see they'd actually rotated their bottom lane down here. That's Legacy. Obviously, Avant's bottom lane's on your screen, guys, so I know that they've rotated down here as well. But I think that's a bit of a mistake, going for that turret dive. I think you could have just played Dragon off your wave pressure or priority, as we like to call it, Skimmy. They also had Herald to just drop and break that turret if they wanted to make the dive a little bit more guaranteed. They kind of did neither, right? They just rushed it. Topoon didn't even use his ultimate, and that means the trade kill was available. Now Dragon picked up and the game stalled out a little bit.
Certainly has, but I can tell you one thing that'll make Legacy rub their hands with glee. They're going to be playing for a Cloud Soul, and given they've already got the Sivir and a comp that is very mobile, you press it ultimate, you're moving at light speed.
Yeah, but once again, Skimmy, I don't necessarily think Legacy outscale here. In the 80 carry role, they definitely do. But I would rather have Graves late game, to be perfectly honest. And when you have a look at the Gnar versus Sion, Gnar will win the side lane, but how many OPL games have actually been determined by split push? I would argue not many. I would argue they mainly get determined by team fights, and Sion is definitely a better team fighter than Gnar.
Well, we've seen how many times Legacy have played around the split push pressure to flip the burger, as we've seen. That's the Herald summoned, and that's the Herald used to no great effect before it expired.
And Gold League, dead even. Despite the fact that Herald was taken, First Dragon was taken, First Blood was picked up before minions had even walked into lane, Skimmy. And this is, I feel like, Legacy slowing down even more than what we had seen historically. They've always been the slowest team in the OPL. In fact, I think they have the slowest game time. Gravitas have the quickest, followed by Mammoth, Order, Avant somewhere in the middle of the soup. But Legacy are the slowest. They're up like 36, 37-ish minutes, something around that mark. But this game just feels like it probably needs to go for a long time for either the Na to win solo or the Sivir to really be able to take over in these scenarios.
It's a interesting point you bring up, because the last time these two teams met, just over a month ago, the game lasted about 39 minutes.
Yeah, it's a long one.
By which point we are looking at majority of members having full items online.
Especially if you're talking about members that farm at the rate that Raze and Violet farm, because I'm pretty sure they're the two highest CS per minute 80 carries in the league. They're the two vacuum cleaners that we have still going around. So yeah, if the game goes 40 minutes, those guys will be completed items and then some, Skimmy. Couple of pink wards just to... we would call that a luxury bush back in the day, Skimmy. That's a very expensive bush now. You walk into that bush, you see 150 gold sitting there, you think, wow, that's a very expensive bush.
They take those. Add it to the legacy fund. What's interesting for me though is only moments before we were highlighting the fact that Babbitt was so far ahead. You said a kill, 20 CS, and a level. That's all but been negated now.
He died.
Sad how something like that just completely changes.
Yeah, you die once. Graves farms the jungle so quickly, Skimmy, that all it takes is one mistake and he's completely back in the game. However, Legacy will grab themselves first turret, so this will take their gold lead to about 2,000-ish, which is good. You can see on the flip side of the map, Avant actually prioritizing the Rift Herald. Oh, and a kill maybe.
Oh, actually gets the 1v2. Everything laid on top of him, but Mega Knot comes at the best time possible. And he literally takes down Appy as well. There's a reason why this is the best top laner in the league.
It certainly is. And Raze on the flip side as well. The top lane is just kicking the 80 carries out of the lane.
They've had enough. They've said, look, you know, an ADC with a few items, yeah, you can play the game, it's fun, but before that, Mark, I'm a bruiser. You can't do much against that.
Yeah, you certainly cannot. Topoon now has himself a solo kill. It's actually 1v2. He's cashed in the cull. See whether he goes for the full split push build, whether this is going to be Frozen Mallet. Yes, it certainly is going to be Skimmy. He's going to look to make Sion's life miserable in the late game. I love watching this, by the way. Some of the best battles we've ever seen in the OPL have been Nara into Sion. Frozen Mallet really does kind of ruin the way Sion wants to play the game.
Yeah, it definitely breeds aggression and forces fights to take place far more often, as we're going to see a 5-man collapse descend upon the mid lane. 10 seconds now on the third Dragon of the game. We're playing for a Cloud Soul. Mentioned it before, CDR could be quite important here to determine how fights favour one another.
I actually think both teams really do well with Soul this game.
Yeah, sure.
Just off the cooldown it's going to give. If Chaz gets some damage.
Certainly does. Oh. That's a tempered fate, but Lisa dashes out of that one. Redemption comes on down. That's a stopwatch to negate it. Goes gold twice. Playing a lot of time for his team to try and find value. Topoon jumps into the backline right now, in the brush, knocks them back, forces the flash away. Isles finds one. Support gets the support. There's a ton of damage going the way of Raze already. Without the spell shield, very, very vulnerable. Babbitt forced to retreat, goes for the disengage, the fade away spear.
And Avant are very good at doing this, Skimmy. They actually turn around, they get recontrol of mid lane, and they're going to use Herald to make Legacy choose. Do you want your mid lane turret, or do you want this dragon? It's only in air, so taking mid lane turret and then rotating into topside if you want it, or trying to use your teleport to fight this, I think is an okay move. Obviously, Dragon gone very quickly, however. And look at that top lane wave. Imagine if instead of going back into the bottom side control right now, the Avant lineup was actually splitting the map and trying to go top. That would have been such a nice play.
Certainly would have been. Topoon hangs on to his teleport, as does Pat Bryce. And Halo can go topside to clear up what was a of a big wave.
Okay, Skimmy. So we have ourselves about a 2,000 gold lead still. You know, it is going to be the 2 kills, probably, as well as the first blood and first turret bonuses that actually make up those gold leads. It's going to be second dragon picked up for Legacy, but neither of these teams really putting each other on like a 24-minute soul point is going to be a little bit more protracted than that. So I think we're going to have some big team fights this game. I'm very excited to see how these teams actually shape up against each other. Because Legacy really need to be able to bounce back. And I'm not sure, like, still whether this is a bounce back game they were looking for. I'm sure they would have loved to come in and just absolutely smash Avant after getting first blood on their jungle as well. At the same time, Avant certainly a good team still in the OPL. This is one of the closest splits that I've seen in recent memory. But we'll see exactly how this mid to late game goes, Skimmy. Whether they do just decide to throw hands.
There's definitely that point in split 1 where they were taking down some of the best teams in the league in under 25 minutes. Games have got progressively longer, as you say.
Split 1 Legacy was a completely different monster to what we're seeing right now, in my opinion. Fight starts.
Certainly does. Fantastic magical journey ensures that Isles will not get locked down with the CC train in his own jungle.
Was a flash though. They will get a turret for it, it looks like, in topside. But Isles now without flash is a little bit more of a sitting duck here on the Bard.
You can see Avant trying to force something, given the amount of pressure Tapoon continues to exert in the spot on lane. Nearly gets himself the second turret here. And he does, doing what Legacy do well, which is the macro game, as Avant continue to force aggression, now trying to chase on towards Halo. Ooh, the redemption came down at a critical moment. Graves nearly got the execution. I think he survived on literally 5 HP.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a really great redemption. You know, just a foresight to use it. A lot of people would have thought that their mid laner was dead there. But at the same time, you got to say the poke out of Chaz and Violet is becoming very, I would call it sticky, Skimmy.
Yeah, for sure. And they know that they do
Although
damage right
spear.
now. That hurts. He's got a ton of magic penetration right now, sitting on the orb and the Merc Sork boots.
Trouble bubble.
Tapoon looking for a situation right now. Appy is very low, so his ability to try and force this engagement has been diminished.
Papyrus
Doesn't have
has
the
no
box,
ult.
he can't lock people down. Papyrus in trouble, going to go for the knock-up, going to get taken to the afterlife. As Chaz gets hit with a second spear, another third of his health bar just disappears in an instant. The clone does nothing, and all the push Avant had achieved in the mid lane gets completely undone.
And they just overstayed Skimmy. They didn't actually think, you know, why are we pushing this lane? Is it going to be realistic to take this mid lane turret? I think they just hadn't gone through the steps. They didn't have any flanks covered. And then Italy just playing that, you know, fog of war game, able to put so much damage in. Teleport also being used top lane. However, Isles as well as Halo are heading up there. Is this going to be a potential gank setup? Chaz?
Does he know? They've got the speed, they've got the ability to collapse upon him. There's the preemptive stun as he jumps on back. He's going to get locked on down and taken down by 2 supports that say hello.
Yeah, and that's just really well played by Halo and Isles. Halo having a much improved game this time around, Skimmy. Now Legacy find themselves in firm control. 5,000 gold. They've actually exploded this lead. Giving credit where credit's due. We said it looked like it was going to be a slow burn, you know, a little bit more of the old school grind, but they really have accelerated this mid game now.
They certainly have. You wondered, would we see some big major team fights coming online? Well, they've definitely got the items right now that would favor them in that department. 2 core support items on the Karma, the redemption from Bard as well. Now you got 2 completed BF swords. Raze is going to be hitting it like a truck.
Certainly is. Needs a little bit of attack speed. It does have, obviously, the auto-attack reset available under W, but I'm sure he would love himself a Zeal item. But just overall, they're not in a rush now. They've finally got themselves in a situation where they are big enough to not have to, you know, worry about how long this game goes for. Papyrus might have to run away here.
Yeah, he's getting collapsed upon, going to use the ultimate, going to be unstoppable. I'm going to Tokyo drift back to his tower.
But now full topside control guaranteed. And Appy's being caught out.
Tempest Fate, that prevents the engage. Force the fight on their terms. Force the flash away right now. What can Chaz find? Can he get a trouble bubble? Raze leads the line right now. Pops the ultimate. Chases them down. Karma Shield is used. And they sidestep the turnaround. Out comes Papro. Oh! He's deleted! A bubble, a knock-up, and an execution within mere seconds. You blink and you'll miss it. The Dragon is up. And it's a core component of what is needed to buff up this AD carry.
So support for support falls down. It's just one of them playing mid lane at the moment. And you can see that Avant actually letting this Dragon going over and threatening the Baron. I do not think they can do this at all. So it's just going to be free Dragon taken, although now potentially the support caught out.
I just can't believe how quickly Halo fell down.
It's a magic trick, mate. Now you see me.
No, you don't. Well, there you have it. Legacy now sitting on a soul point. 20% reduction on those ultimates. Going to come in handy here. We'll be fighting for a 28-minute soul point.
And you can just tell that Legacy, they've had a couple of, I call them mental wins to me. They just have a little bit more control of the map now. They've caught a couple more people out of position. And you can see that Avant, they're just a little bit more hesitant to actually contest some of these objectives. And I think it is starting to show, like, that's a Scuttle Crab taken on Avant's side of the map, technically. They're getting Chaz to play away from objective side, whereas Chaz, you know, at 223 CS, is probably, he's the man that you probably need around the Baron buff at the moment. So I think just really nicely done from the Legacy lineup to ensure that they are getting the game back on their terms.
Speaking of, I think Hella's done actually a really impressive job. We see so many times mid-Karmas fall down by very big margins in terms of farming, given that their job is to facilitate and act in a two-man system. But everything has been provided to Raze. And, well, he's actually going to be looking to build towards the Death's Dance as well, so really reliant on his supports to give him the attack speed that he needs. Fully building into what I'd have to say is a spell slinger at this stage, because, well, that hurt.
Certainly didn't. Flash out of Lisa. And when, you know, when you're playing junglers that are tanks, it's not all that important. You know, flash on Sejuani, who really cares all that much. But when you're playing something like a carry, obviously it hurts nearly as much as when you lose it as the AD carry role. Now in the mid lane, they go for it. They're just crushing them at the moment. Legacy, anywhere they go, they just erasing members of Avant Gaming.
They're struggling to get control of this mid lane right now. They're getting pushed out of their own base. 3 turrets to 1. They've got the pressure bot side. They've got the vision to catch members on the rotation. And given that the mid tier 1 is broken too, I think it's really achieved much in terms of pick potential.
And they can see the Karma just sitting top. Sure, he has teleport, but if you just hard engage mid, how do they actually get the Karma there in time? But Avant just letting the pace of the game be completely in Legacy's wheelhouse. And this is what Legacy do. They kind of trick you into making you think that you have less options than you do. Then you watch the game back and you think, why didn't we just go here?
Tempered Fate connects. Once again, the target is Appy. Paprise on the hunt on a flank. Forced to disengage away, but that is not the engagement that Legacy were looking for. And that's not the turnaround that Avant wanted either. Baron continues to be a threat, not a commitment for the dance. It seems like mid-control, while still important, is just fueling the idea that we got a minute 30 before the soul point.
And we'll see exactly how the Soul's fought, whether Legacy try and use it to secure themselves a Baron. You can see how good their topside wards are. Whether this is actually just the full-on 5v5. Whether Avant just decide Cloud Dragon, not all that worthwhile to fight over. I would disagree with them. I think you can't really give Cloud Soul at this stage, but we'll see how they go. And here comes the pain for Paprise, because this is what you can expect out of the attack speed now.
Yep, he locks you in place with the Frozen Mallet, and then he shreds your armor as well with the Black Cleaver, and that's going to do wonders here for making sure that Raze, having opted for this full physical damage build, he chucks out that boomerang. The boomerang brothers is what I'm going to call this comp.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing about Top Boon is right now, he never wants to leave this bottom lane ever again. His job is that if he is more useful than the Scion in the fight, he'll go to the fight. but I just think he's way more useful in the side lane. So why not just keep Sion pinned to this turret forever and a day? Never relent. Keep chipping away at the objective. Make your team play a good 4-man game, and instead just look to open up the base and not let the super tank actually frontline. Because without Sion in the composition, Avant's comp actually looks very wonky. It has no engage. With Sion, it looks really nice. So why would you even risk it, Skimmy?
Yeah, they've been able to find those moments just yet. Even Trinity Force coming out here for the Ezra as opposed to the Frozen Fist. Just pure damage between these two skill shot carries. Going to be very important.
And are they just going to ditch this dragon for a Baron attempt? Because the dragon's gone. Make no mistake.
There you have it. 30% ultimate reduction. A ton of movement speed when the ultimate is used.
Nah might be able to get 2 ults in a fight.
Certainly maybe. Tempered Fate gets chucked on out. Will not connect. Sidestepping on the spear. Everybody once again collecting their faults, gathering themselves towards the mid lane. Second turret falls on down. Are they gearing up for a siege? This is a push into a Baron turnaround. That is on the hunt. They want to disengage. Kami should provide a magical journey as well. Sion is so deep behind enemy lines right now. 1v5. He might die before his team can try and even attach and connect with him, but the Lantern gets himself out. Locket is popped as well to provide them with their own form of a mini Karma Shield. Both teams, a ton of gap closing potential, but both just not keen to fully connect.
Yeah, you can see what Bard does to kind of terrain, right? He just changes how the fight is going to look, either through stuns or through that magical journey. Very well played from Isles there. Ray's also cutting back nicely, and the Sion ult is the one tool they have to get in, and it's been navigated masterfully from this Legacy lineup. Now still 8,000 gold in the lead. You can see Halo's gone back. He's grabbed himself his fancy cap, and now exactly where he wants to be in this game. You'd have to assume, yep, there it is. Death Stance done for Raze as well. At 3 items, especially to the 2 of the Avant Gaming members, I just don't know whether there's a way they can actually win this game now.
It's very terrifying. He's a wizard that does damage, but also buffs up your main carry, who is doing a ton of damage. That boomerang, I'd imagine, is looking to chunk at least half your health bar on 1 cooldown. Question is, when do Avant look to fully commit to this one? They've been on the back for the most part of this game. As you say, Sion has been locked to try and match Tapoon, who's done a fantastic job of targeting these side lanes and forcing his hand to really match. But the gold lead continues to bloom from 2k to 4k to now what we're looking at 8k.
Yeah, but I think even though Tapoon's done a really good job split pushing, he's actually done an even better job of deciding when split pushing isn't necessary and just grouping for objectives. Like, they've got 4 dragons. Most of the time he's been on that side of Summoner's Rift, right? Now you can see they're pressuring Baron, so he is just going to set up bottom side. Doesn't have teleport, so technically this is a risk. Avant can force a fight with mismatched numbers if they get a good ward, but just always in the clock because the Gnar can end the game, especially with the 3 items that he has drawn.
Well, I was going to say, I think Legacy could force their hand and do that dance and put Avant into a bit of a weird situation where they say, if you come at us, if you burn a teleport with the Sion, we can just disengage away from you, and then we look to try and push and threaten an inhibitor. So, I wouldn't put the idea away from Legacy here, but we'll see how they decide to try and set up.
I don't think they're interested in that. I think they're just going to continue to group him. Level 16, 3 Wind Dragons. He might be able to get 2 ultimates off in a fight, Skimmy. It is a very low cooldown. I don't know exactly what it is, but Tapoon's ultimate would be around the 20 seconds mark, to be honest.
Could be critical in deciding how these fights work. His ability to knock the entire team into terrain, force a big stun, line them up so damn easily for the follow-up damage that Legacy have in their pockets. Tons of stuns, tons of lockdown. Will we see the explosion happen?
Avant just look lost.
They do.
They need a map. I know you pretend like you don't need one, Ezreal, but you really need a map right now because they haven't actually made a proactive game play to win this game in a very long time. They tried once to Sion ult down mid. I'll give them credit for that. But apart from that, it has really just been bouncing waves. And when your main carry is a Sivir, who is now 350 CS or farming 30 CS above the clock of where the game state is, I just don't know whether you're going to win that game. You cannot let Legacy grind you down and beat you like this. You have to be able to actually fight back. And I just don't think that they've used enough of their tools to be able to do that.
Feels like frustration in mid lane, where the last 15 minutes have been predominantly spent.
I hope they're frustrated, because I'm definitely frustrated. Appy caught again.
Yep, it is the battle between the supports once again. That's the Tempered Fate, and that is Appy's health bar evaporating in the blink of an eye as the exchange takes place mid 2. And Raze, despite being put to sleep, still takes that kill. That's 2 gone now. That might be the numbers advantage that they need for Legacy to then force that Baron at 33 minutes in. Look to push for the end.
And the thing is, you can't let Topoon staunch you on mid lane like this. Finally, Violet goes in, but where's Paparai's ultimate? They need to be able to stop this Baron. They can't let it go down without a fight.
Elder is up in 50 seconds as well if they needed an insurance policy, as if they needed any more power at this stage of the game. There's the Baron.
I'm Legacy. I don't even look at Elder right now. I just run straight down mid lane.
Oh, for sure.
Like, Avant, you know they're going to have walked in there, got as many wards as they can down, you know, tried to get some cheat. But, you know, just walk straight up mid lane, start hitting that turret, stay there for 3 minutes, win a team fight, win the game. There is no point going near this Elder Dragon.
Cloud Soul, Baron buff, and 4 items on Raze, who's now gone in for a Phantom Dancer. Halo, giving himself up for that final fight, actually picks up a Magi's. Because why not? Get some more shields, get some more damage.
I mean, his build's kind of done at 3 items, right? That's the best thing about Karma. So after that, it's just about, you know, getting more AP. Not a huge fan of this. You're actually technically giving Avant what they want. All they want right now is one chance at being able to win this game. They don't care about the top wave creeps. They know they're not going to catch up in gold. All they need is one shot to win the game, get an Elder Dragon, something along those lines. Legacy have started it up.
Legacy got some solid vision control around the entrance into this Dragon Pit, but as you say, looking to try and make this a 50-50, 2-level smite difference between the junglers. There's the headbutt to go on in as Topoon tanks up the world and more. Forced to flash away, might survive in mini form! Falls on down. Paprice gets the shutdown. Now it is a smite fight. As you say, Tempered Fate locks the dragon and Appy once
Babip's
more.
so low, just hit the dragon.
Yeah, he did. Babip connects with that spear, chases down to half. As a result, the fight is split. Avant a group, but Legacy coming in from left and right. Halo is there to protect the Boomerang Man himself. He's looking to try and make a fight work on their fronts, but Avant are getting run between left and right. I don't know where to go to take out Isles. He's gone. Now, is this the fight that brings Avant back into this game? The hook will not connect, but the dragon will reset. Despite Legacy being up by 10k gold, they're bringing this game down to chaos.
And Chaz has teleport, so they can actually wait for their mid laner to come back right now and fight a genuine 5v3 for 15 seconds. Here we go.
They're looking for it. Now that bounced across once again. Ooh, the hook was very, very close there. Paprice had somebody locked in his sights. They sights about the bubble. Not going to fall victim just yet. On the hunt, goes on through. Raze looking to try and chase these members down, looking for the 1v5 play. Can't do that. Doesn't have a cleanse. There's a ton of problems and a ton of trouble. Falls on down. Graves takes him out. Paprice low. Can he get executed? Now, can he fight from the afterlife as well? A chaotic set of passage of play. Legacy make the numbers mismatch still work in their favor. Raze acting as a tank, a damage dealer, and more. Forget the Elder. It was a buff, but it was a bait. And now with all the dancing, with all the minions flooding top lane, they go to break open an inhibitor.
Yeah, they certainly do. It is going to maybe be game here as well. They do have 4 members streaming up there. It is just going to be Lisa and Appy trying to repel this siege. They need to be able to get the creep wave, which they do, but they're just taking it up, Skimmy. That should be it.
That should be it indeed. A week 6 that didn't go their way, but they come back fighting. Week number 7 is where they're at, and they're going to take down Avant in 37 minutes. A slow burner, but a win nonetheless, and one to build up confidence.
Yeah, it certainly should be. Halo had a much improved performance this time around. On the Karma, not something I'm used to seeing him play. Raze, once again, just grew further and further into that game. A lot of early game priority, bit of a lull. That's what you expect out of traditional marksman. Late game, absolute monster. And Topoon with the 2v1 solo kill. Good signs there for Legacy. Disappointing game, I would say, for Avant Gaming as well.
composition that we had high hopes for in terms of pick potential, especially between the Ezreal and the Zoe, but just never really found that moment to sort of execute upon what their strat was. We're definitely getting run around the map by what Legacy were trying to do, and as you said at one point in the game, for about a 15-minute passage of time, it was sit mid, hope that something happens, but it never did, and you could see the frustration coming out from Appy, always looking to try and be the one to engage, always receiving the tempered fate to prevent that and getting collapsed upon in the end himself. That's going to do it for game number 2. We're going to jump to a quick break, and when we return, it's a big one for day 1. It is Chiefs taking on the Direwolves.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
Good luck. Have fun.
Thanks.
Welcome back, John. Same room?
You look even worse than the last time.
Hard finding the time to do anything for myself. With my job and kids, you know.
I sure do. We hear that a lot. Now, just relax.